Yeah, we'd have a whole conversation. We're 30 minutes in. We're like, hey, should we record this conversation?
Okay, I think I have the AI summary. Yeah, recording. All right. This is the interview with Alan Dragoo and Brian Kurtz. I so the one of the things that's one of my premises also is that I see myself as like a bridge between, because a lot of people who, grew up even in the direct marketing of the 80s and 90s, a lot of them aren't around, or they're not here to
Yeah.
tell the tale. And
Yeah.
also, I made the transition from offline to online because I was a student of online. In fact, that's why I don't turn down podcasts. I don't turn down interviews especially with, younger, more dynamic marketers than myself, because I really want to learn from them. And so, I mean, I'm in masterminds with, usually I'm one of the oldest people in every mastermind I'm a member of, and I get in on a golden ticket because, they think I know something. And so it's an advantage. So I get like, oh yeah, you can join, Brian. That's fine, even though you don't know what the fuck you're talking about when it comes to the online shit. But I can be dangerous in some online areas, but
Of
I know
course.
I know my limitations. I know what I don't know, or I don't know what I don't know, but I also know what I don't know. And so I'm a teacher, but I'm also a student. And this goes back to breakthrough advertising. I was a student of Gene Schwartz, and and many other, greats of marketing. I want to
Yeah.
continue that trend, but you can't be a teacher without always learning. So that's always been a premise for me. So I'm a bridge that connects all of that with everything that's state of the art today. Not that I'm doing state of the art, but I know state of the art, and I bring in state of the art people into my mastermind to speak. And I know what I don't know.
Yeah.
I know what I know, and I know what I don't know. And so why not, you can't be an expert in everything, so why not, bring in the experts? So that's kind of like the whole T-Rex, and that's where it originates basically.
I think that's great. And in fact, I think it's a perfect actually segue to why we're having a conversation today, because the thing that actually drew me to reach out to Chris Mason, who's our mutual connection, right?
Right.
I reached out to Chris because in my era of copy, I'm 32, so I'm not the youngest, but I'm not the oldest in the game, right? I've got a lot to learn in this, but in my era of copywriting, what's happening is, and it's happening, is that everybody right now is in the AI golden age, right? The AI golden age. And I'm looking around and I'm seeing all my fellow friends, competitors, whatever you want to call them, coexistence of competition, as you like to teach, right? In that sense, I'm seeing everybody selling AI prompts and all these things. And I was really drawn back over the last 6 months to be like, man, I need to go through this book again. I need to dive into this, because right now, I feel like fundamentals is a lost art.
Yeah, no, and it becomes a differentiator of sorts. Like direct mail is a differentiator because no one,
Yes.
it's like, what's this? Like, you go to some younger marketers, they go, direct mail, is that a new medium? It's like, um, and so that's fine, that's fine. But and again, direct mail is different today than it was then. I mean, you can't do the
Yeah.
kinds of mailings I did at Boardroom anymore. It's just they don't really exist. Doing a 9 million piece mailing for a one-shot book at $39 doesn't happen. You can't find 9 million direct. You can't find that many names to mail that you could even get close to profitable. On the other hand, direct mail on the back end of any online business is a differentiator. And the,
Yeah.
the, the irony is, I'm in Jeff Walker's mastermind. You know Jeff Walker?
Oh, cool. Yeah, I do know Jeff
And
Walker through
yeah,
Chris
so
Orzakowski.
say again?
I know Jeff Walker through Chris Orzakowski, who's my
Oh, Chris
mentor.
Orzakowski, right. And yeah, Chris is promoting PLF, I saw.
Yeah, he
Um,
did.
yeah. So I was I was invited to Jeff Walker's mastermind as a guest speaker,
Okay.
which blew me away. I mean, it was a great story. I think I told it in a blog. I think I told it in my book too, in chapter 10, where
You
Jeff
did.
Walker
You did tell it in
sent
your
out a
book.
LinkedIn request and said, you know, is this the Brian Kurtz? And I sent him an email back. I said, is this the Jeff Walker? And we knew of each other before. We might have even met, but we weren't really connected that well. And we got into an email dialogue. I think we probably got on a phone call. Zoom wasn't popular yet then. It was like 11 years ago. Um, and he said, why don't you come to my mastermind? You'll come, you'll do a presentation, you'll hang out with my wonderful online PLF marketers. And I never left because I went there as a speaker. It was like a love grip, you know. I love them, they love me, and I just joined. I always said it was a ploy by Jeff to get $25,000 a year from me for 12 years. Um, so it's an ongoing joke, but it's amazing. I mean, being exposed to that group was one of the gifts of my career. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
talking about, you're talking about, Stu McLaren and I can't even begin to name all of the amazing marketers who've been part of, Jeff Walker's, Ryan Levesque. I mean, so many, Will Hamilton, amazing, amazing marketers. And I got in on a technicality. I mean, if I had applied, if Jeff didn't know me, and I had applied for his mastermind when I joined, which was probably 2012, maybe. What's this year? 2025?
2025.
Yeah, probably 2013, maybe. Anyway, if I had applied, I would have been rejected. But
Why? Why do you think that?
because I'm not. He was mostly he. It's my own. Maybe it's my own perception. I would have been rejected because I wasn't doing launches, traditional launches.
Oh, okay.
Now, interestingly, when I got there that first year, and this we could relate back to Gene Schwartz and everything, but I do think that by the time I got there, he he had just started bringing in other like not generalists, but people in other areas of marketing, of public people who are doing different things than just launching online products. Two of
Right.
them, one was Victoria Labalme. Victoria Labalme is like an amazing public speaker. She teaches speaking. She works with corporate executives. And Annie Hyman Pratt, who is like an organizational expert. And she
Yeah.
changed all the companies in Jeff's group because she taught them how to build a business and not a product or a promotion. Actually build a business with like a structure and employees and like a way to make a profit. And
Yeah. Yeah.
because most of the people in Jeff's group at the beginning, they lived launch to launch. It was like, and one launch doesn't do well of the two or three you do a year, your business is bad for the whole year.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so I saw them there the first time I went there as a speaker, and I said, "Oh, this isn't just all launchers." So maybe, but if I had applied when he offered it originally, I was unqualified to be in it based on his criteria, definitely.
That's interesting because
Yeah.
I think one of the things you mentioned in Over Deliver is that you're in like 6 to 8 masterminds.
Over time, not all at the same time, but
Okay.
yeah, and I over time I've been in different ones. Some of them I don't pay for, some of them I pay a lot for. Some of them are not masterminds, but they're coaching groups, whatever. But yeah, I mean, I tried to calculate it. I've spent well over $1 million in my career on mastermind, including all the travel and everything that goes with it. Well
Right.
over $1 million in my education. That's my education, though. I consider that my tuition to be a legitimate direct response marketer.
Yeah. 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 Oh,
In
that's
addition, in addition to you know, all the basics that I knew originally, starting with Gene Schwartz.
yeah. That's going to be a bullet to promote this. How much has Brian Kurtz paid in tuition to learn his direct response life? I
Yeah.
love. We're gonna use that, but a lot of
And
that
also
is
that the boot camp is only 297, tells you, so you can actually you could do like a thing there. You could do 297 to a million, or you can do 297 to one mastermind at $25,000 and look at and you'll get more in 2 weeks. I'm giving you the copy, but you're the copywriter. But
I'm gonna price anchor them at $1 million.
Yeah, anchor them at $1 million, right?
That's awesome.
But you can do it in 2 weeks, 6 90-minute calls. It's like a mini mastermind of epic proportions, right?
That was the first thing I told Chris, because I got on a call with Chris a couple weeks ago and I was taking notes. I was like, hey, send me the landing page. And he sent me the landing page. I was like, hey, the price is wrong. You're missing a one in front of or you're missing a couple ones in front of the boot camp. And he's like, no, that's the price. And I was like, the book is 120. Are you sure?
Yeah.
And he's like,
the first time we did the boot camp, it was 99.
I think that's insane.
But the thing is, my business was launched on a descension model, meaning that when I left Boardroom, the first product that I launched was a $20,000 mastermind. So because I had 34 years of connections and relationship capital, so I immediately sold 23 companies into my mastermind within weeks. So do the math. That's $400,000. That's a business at a 40% margin, right? So I did that, and then I froze it at 30 companies, which had a lot of people had partners also. So I froze my mastermind, but I had up to 45 members at 20 or 25,000. That's a business in itself, not including Gene Schwartz and breakthrough advertising, not including other things I was doing. So it was, and then so everything descended from there, as opposed to, I didn't start with the $99 product to get to the $25,000 mastermind. So now on the low ticket, I didn't care that much about the low ticket, because the low ticket was like gravy, and I wanted to reach more people. So there was a method to the madness. I definitely underpriced it intentionally. My mastermind, my Titans Accelerator mastermind, which is $2,000 a year, is totally underpriced. But I want to bring in as many, people as possible, so that I can reach more people and, spread the gospel of what I know and get the gospel from them. And so a lot of younger marketers, 2,000 is a lot of money, I found. So
you're not wrong. And actually that is why we're having the conversation today, is because I feel the same thing, except, you've gotten to actually spend time with these people like Gene. You've actually gotten to spend time with legends, Ben Savenga, Deutsch, all these guys. And I'm building an email list of copywriters, and I'm running into all these people who are like, who are these? And I'm like, are you serious? Have you not dove into this? Who are you reading? Who are you listening to?
And it is an advantage that, I touched all of them. So literally I've touched them. I've hugged most of them. But it's funny. Someone once came up to me at a conference, who was a Gene Schwartz fan, young, didn't, learned about Gene Schwartz, after he was dead, which fascinates me too. Like the fact that you're now a Gene Schwartz groupie just by being on the phone with me, is very satisfying for me. You're a new fan, but you'll be a lifelong fan. And,
for sure.
But I was at a conference, and some 32-year-old came up to me and said, I heard you've touched Gene Schwartz. I said, yeah. I said, I even hugged him a few times.
Brian, you're feeding me the bullets. You're just
yeah.
You're good. That's amazing. So, I mean, in that, not only have you gotten to hug Gene Schwartz, I've heard that you actually used to go to his penthouse.
Yes.
And talk sales letters when you were back at Boardroom. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So basically, Gene Schwartz and Marty Edelstein, the founder of Boardroom, they were buddies. Yeah. They knew each other from Marty's work he used to Marty used to sell space advertising, direct response space advertising in magazines and things like that. So he got to know all of the copywriters. Marty was an amazing connector himself, and so he met Gene, and they were friends. I think Gene wrote an ad for a Jewish encyclopedia that Marty found, and he was obsessed with it. He thought it was the most amazing copy, and he sought Gene out. I don't know exactly how they met, but it was close to that. And so Gene was writing copy for us, and we'll talk. I know one of the questions is about writing copy for names,
Yeah.
but but he was writing copy for us. And look, I was in the marketing department. I got to meet Gene when he came to the office and all of that. And, he liked me, I liked him. It wasn't an intimate relationship initially. I was like a little pisher. I was like the kid, the marketing kid, not even the marketing director. I was the marketing kid.
Were
And
you
so
still a list manager at this point? You were
I
just list
think when I
managing.
met him, I was, or I was, no, I wasn't. I had already started doing, I actually probably was the marketing director by then, where I was, but I used all my list management knowledge to be a marketing director because I basically was looking at our mailings, and I dealt with the lists we had to mail like I did when I sold the boardroom lists, because it's the same thing. It's sort of like what are the promotions that got the name. It was always how I always looked at lists, because
That's
we had the
awesome.
best copywriters. And so I knew that our lists were great because of the copywriters that were creating them, whether it was Gene or Mel Martin or Ben Savenga came around a little later than that, but he was there. And so it was like the copy was so impulsive, all fascinations, bullets, all of that. And the kind of person that would respond to that kind of a package, knowing that we're going after executives, people who are affluent already, and now they're mail order junkies too. Like
Yeah,
all they
yeah,
want to
yeah.
do is buy more through direct mail. You could see why the boardroom lists were like, a crown jewel of the list industry. So then when I went into the marketing side, I looked at every list that I mailed, whatever list. My list brokers had to give me, I wrote a blog post about this. It was guilty until proven innocent. And I developed this worksheet where my list brokers, I mean, I was a pain in the ass client to my list brokers. I said, you got to fill out this worksheet for every list you're recommending. And one of the things on the worksheet was that you also had to attach a sample of the mailing piece that got the names on that list. And that would tell me more than anything else.
Yeah, yeah.
If they could connect, if I could connect the promotion, for instance, Agora, they were using all the same copywriters. Phillips Publishing was using all the same copywriters. If I saw a Phillips Publishing list that was using a Gary Bencivenga written package or a Jim Rutz written package, I knew that list was going to kick ass for Boardroom. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
I mean, Agora at the time was a lot smaller. It wasn't a $1 billion business back then, and I knew them from the start. I mean, Bill Bonner was one of my early mentors too, and I knew Mark Ford very. I still.
Really?
Oh yeah, I mean,
Oh,
Agora and Boardroom were always very very close, and we were so close that we exchanged so many names with each other that I always when we did a merge purge of in our mailings, if I had an Agora list in there merging against the list in the mailing and my house list, I get a 40% duplication. I mean, we were yeah,
whoa.
but not, but again, you're going out with different promotion, and I have a whole story about that when Bill Bonner imitated one of our packages and he couldn't get the same result, even though the lists are the same, you think they're not. It's the gestalt of the mailing, which has to do with the list, there's so many factors. It's not based on one factor, but there was a lot of overlap on the lists. So anyway, the idea was what connected me to Gene was an amazing thing because I was just talking to him one day in the office, as I recall, and he had his little book company, Instant Improvement, the Tao of
Yeah.
Sexology and how to rub your stomach away and all that shit. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, content wasn't great. The promotions were amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a swipe file. And so I'm talking to him and I said, what kind of lists do you mail besides Boardroom and Rodale? And he said, my list broker does. I knew his list broker. Don't put this although I'm sure the guy's dead, but
Yeah.
the guy was an asshole. And his company were assholes, but it was just that was who his list broker was. And so I said, Gene, let me look at the list plans they do for you. And I'll take a look and make sure you're getting, because you got to be mailing all the health lists we're mailing, because we had
Yeah.
health products as well. And so he gave me the list. I remember he gave me a list plan. Some of it they didn't have anywhere near all the lists that they should have. And the list that they were mailing didn't have the right selections. Like there were specific, like on a Rodale list, even on Rodale, you needed to take certain segments based on their promotion patterns. If they're mailing a women's book, in the last 6 months, primarily, you don't want those names. You want the names of the people who bought the men's book the 6 months before, even without
Yep.
recency. So it was like those kinds of subtleties in the selections. And so I just basically redid Gene's list plan. Of course, I wasn't going to charge him or anything. And it basically, I did it without any expectation. Just I wanted to do it. It's fucking Gene Schwartz,
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I remember him saying that, and then he did mailings. They did much better, of course. I mean, I didn't do the mailing, but I got him the best list selections. And
Yeah.
so then he just like it's. I always say, you don't choose your mentors choose you. And he chose me as a mentee, basically, because, I just over delivered to him in a way because first of all, I love the guy. He was, great guy, warm, gentle, had a temper. If Marty disagreed with one of his headlines, he would get pissed off.
He's protective about
Yeah,
his
yeah,
work.
yeah. He was very protective of his work, but he befriended me. So then, I would go to his house, a couple of times, maybe I don't know, maybe not every month, but I go there. We'd have lunch in his big dining room. He was a major modern art collector, and he had tons of stuff in storage and in the penthouse all over. And so every time I went there, it was a different collection because he would move the paintings out after 6 months and bring in another whole set of paintings. And he discovered him and his wife Barbara, who's still alive, who gets royalties on Breakthrough Advertising. They
Yeah.
they both they were incredible art collectors, and they discovered so many young artists who are famous today, modern artists. And in fact, I wrote this somewhere, but in Gene's obituary, there were in New York Times, it was a lengthy obituary, and it was all about his art collecting prowess. There's one paragraph about, oh, and he had a book publishing company and wrote some copy. Basically.
Are you serious? That's awesome.
Yeah. So
That
I
is
did
so
I did
funny.
and I spent a lot of quality time with him, you know, learning. I mean, he was really instructive. One of the great lines is that I've used a lot is he said to me, I remember handing him a big an encyclopedic health book that we had, and I said, Gene, you're going to write a package for this. And his first question was always, what's not in the book? What's not in
Mm.
the newsletter? And
Hmm.
what he was trying to do there was to spur some additional curiosity, both in me and our editors.
Yeah.
So, and I'll fast forward to it because, like the copywriters of today, the best ones do the same thing. Paris Lampropoulos, I've told this story in a blog. Paris Lampropoulos was doing a package for my natural healing newsletter, and I said, "Can you do a package for this?" He read the past issues. He looked at the control package, whoever wrote it. He said, "I don't want to write for this. There's nothing exciting in here." And I said, "No, nothing cutting edge. It's all the same shit." And
Hmm.
I said, he doesn't want to, Paris can only be as good as the content. Now, sometimes you can make your fascinations better than the content.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever you do on an airplane is much better than the answer. you know.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
okay because you got to titillate people. So and we came up with this idea. Paris said, "Let me talk to the editor of the Natural Healing newsletter." And he met with him, and basically his one question was, "What are you not putting in the newsletter?" Same as Gene would say, "What's not in the book?" And
Hmm.
the editor had like tons of articles that were the guru. We had a guru on that newsletter, a doctor, a
Oh,
naturopathic
okay.
doctor, and he had many articles that he put in on cutting edge therapies and cutting edge stuff that our editors rejected because they were very conservative, our editors. So then we got to the crux of the problem. Now, was some of the stuff still controversial? Yeah. I mean, urine therapy is controversial. Even at that time, chelation was very controversial. But what Paris encouraged them to do is go find on some of these studies, find more proof so I can use it in the package. And he pushed them. Couldn't get stuff. We're not going to lie. We're not going to say untruths in the copy, but go find me stuff that can support this material. And they got a lot of new stuff, and it always became the lead in his package or in his sales letter because it was always the most cutting edge stuff and the most exciting to write about. And I think I don't know if Gene invented that, but I got it from Gene. And I think Paris has such an amazing I don't know, he's got that sixth sense, and he's got the gene, you know. If there is a gene for copywriting, Paris got it. And
Yeah.
a lot of it's his curiosity and his inquisitiveness and his never settle for the first answer, all of that. Because the best copywriters are the best interviewers, you know, always. And
Yeah.
so anyway, I mean, I learned a lot from Gene at those meetings, but also every time I saw him work, every time I saw him write a package, he was. I mean, and a little side note that just shows his dedication to the craft and how he never let it go. You might know this, but he had a major stroke where he
Yeah, yeah.
all. If you've seen the Rodale thing, you see that his right arm is by his side the whole time. He's only
Yes.
motioning with one hand.
This
And
is why he wrote a specific sales letter, right? One sales letter he did for free because the guy actually helped him solve after his stroke. He said he helped me get movement back in my right arm, which
no,
is
I
why he
haven't
wrote
heard
the.
that story. Interestingly,
Yeah,
he didn't
he
get much
he
movement back. He could lift it up. When he shook your hand, it was like shaking a sponge. Um,
Oh,
yeah, you
yeah,
know, he's right. He didn't have a lot of feeling in his right arm. He basically the point is that he ended up doing hunting and pecking on a manual type. That's why the manual typewriter is on the cover of Breakthrough Advertising
oh,
because he hunted and pecked. He hunted and
right
pecked
there.
on that keyboard, on a QWERTY keyboard, basically with one finger, and he wrote volumes of copy that way.
Oh my goodness. Now that obviously now he does speak into that for sure when I think it's his Phillips speech when he talked at Phillips. He's got those like three sessions that are broken out because he breaks them out in 33. He does it three times.
Right, right. The Pomodoro method.
Yeah. Is that called the Pomodoro method, the 33 timer? That might be it. It might be that. But in that, so we do get that quirk from Gene. He obviously pumped out a ton of copy. You got to spend a lot of time with him. Was he always in this like really like deep work mode, or did he had a lot of the art collection
Yeah, no,
vibe? Like,
he was a very eclectic guy. When he was talking business, he was talking business. But no,
okay.
he was an eclectic guy. He liked baseball. We didn't get into too much baseball, but no, he was focused all the time, but he was one of the reasons that made him a great copywriter. There's a quote in one of my blogs. You know, it's about about art and what's out in the world. It's also like the other quote is, if you don't spend time with your market, you're finished basically. If you don't spend
Yeah.
time being out in the world I mean, John Carlton talks about that when he talks about being being mindful of everything around you and not, some people think to write copy, you put headphones on, cut out all the noise, sit in a dark room and write, or sit in a light room and write. And he did it differently. He always, his favorite magazine was the National Enquirer because he really wanted to see what makes this country tick. What makes
Yeah.
people vibrate. Marty used use the term, I want your copy to vibrate. And he knew what made people vibrate in terms of what are people talking about? What are they not to write current events into a mailing package. He didn't do a lot of that because it was dangerous in direct mail because you write a package, it's not going to go out for 6 or 9 months, or at least 6 months, or maybe even 4 months. But current events change very quickly. They're not current anymore. But
Yeah.
he just wanted to get a sense of what people were thinking about. And he says, know what your market is thinking about all the time. And that was part of his writing ability. It was, it's the Pomodoro technique, by the way. It's basically, and he did it with 33 minutes, 33 seconds, but you can do it with 10 minutes, whatever. But you have to, it's basically, intense, intense release. And the release you walk, but he would walk around outside. He'd take a walk outside. He was an observer of culture. He was an observer of people. He was, Dan Kennedy says, he always talks about, marketing by walking around. Gene was copywriting by walking around.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing basically because copywriting and marketing are linked, but it's an important aspect of being a great copywriter.
Yeah, no, it is. And that's one of the reasons why I think it's very interesting today that we're having a conversation about a guy who has been passed for over 20 years, 25 years in that sense, a book that was written 60 years ago.
1966, 100% relevant. There's not one thing in that book that's not relevant.
Talk about that for a sec. Why is this book so timeless? Why is it so prolific? And why should people in 2025, especially, I got a bunch of new copywriters on my list, people watching YouTube, people diving into this, and they're into the AI world, and they're into these cool new offers in internet marketing. And when you talk about a book that's been around for 60 years, they're like, why would I need to know that?
Well, they should read Scientific Advertising, which was written in 1923. So it's not just 1966. And the reason is, I wrote it in my afterword to the Titans Marketing Edition, is that human behavior hasn't changed since 1966, nor has it changed since, I think in the afterword I say, nor has it changed since 1066. So humans are humans still. And so the book is not, there's a lot of copy in it. There's a lot about copy and marketing and markets and being a market maker and, mass desire and, but the whole, specifically the levels of the states of awareness and levels of sophistication is something that is not just about marketing. It's about human behavior. And so they're just, and the thing is, the way he goes into it in a very dense way, very specific in the book.
Yes.
That's why the boot camp is so valuable because, you've seen all the copy that we've written previously on the boot camp. It's that it's dense, and because it's dense, you may not want to pick it up and read it. And if you pick it up and read it, you still might not turn it into a utility. And there's no reason you're going to spend $125 for a book that you're going to skim and not adapt to your business. And that's where the boot camp comes in. Because the boot camp gives you the opportunity, you're forced to read it, basically. It's sort of like when I wrote my book, Over Deliver, one of the great things was doing the audio version. For 2 days, I had to read my book. I got new insights into the book that I just wrote by doing the audio version.
You're like, Brian, this is good. This is really good, Brian.
Yeah, but then then I said, this is bad. I fucked that up, and I tried to make some changes, which I couldn't. Well, we actually were able to make some changes at that point. Not big changes. I could change words and stuff. But then you read breakthrough advertising, and you'd say, God, this is deep. How do I adapt it? How do I approach using it? And that was the challenge that Chris and I were faced with to create the boot camp. Like, how can we make this a utility? Like, make it. That's what I'm trying to do with my mastermind. I'm using AI to create intense summaries with actionable things from every guest speaker. It may
that's
be a
awesome.
dream. I may not be able to pull it off, but I'm trying. I'm working with Max Bernstein, who's a good copywriter who's skilled in AI. I'm not skilled in AI. I know what AI can do and what it can't do.
Yeah.
But and in fact, I was just thinking about it today because I just edited like the first summary using AI, and it's not good enough because we want to make it a paid subscription on Substack as an entry into Titan's Accelerator. So sort of like Breakthrough Advertising Bootcamp is an entry into Titan's Accelerator. This Substack subscription, it's sort of like Titan's Accelerator Lite because it's summaries of the calls, but they have to be actionable. And so the Breakthrough Advertising Bootcamp was a way to make breakthrough advertising actionable. And then, of course, that spawned Breakthrough Advertising Mastery, which is also worth buying, but they don't have to buy it to be in the boot camp. But Breakthrough Advertising Mastery was basically, and it was a happy accident. Why I pay attention to young copywriters, and you're included now. This guy Luis Flavio. He has three names. Luis Flavio. I forget. I remember off the top of my head. So he sends me an email. And he said, again, young copywriter from Brazil, knows Gene Schwartz. He's probably like 28 years old. Sends me an email. I mean, these are the best emails I ever get. It's like a 28-year-old studying Gene Schwartz. This guy, I love this guy.
Already in your good graces.
You are too. I
appreciate it. I appreciate it.
I didn't know you, and but Chris said, I've got a guy that's right up your alley. He's 30 whatever, and he's 30 something, and he's a Gene Schwartz groupie. I said, I'll talk to him,
Yeah. I love that.
So Luis Flavio Nunez, and he sends me a proposal to do this is a 55th anniversary of Breakthrough Advertising, whatever year that is. I can't do the math. 55 years later. So it's fairly recent.
Yeah. 2010, 2015, something like that.
Right. And he says he's got, what does he have? A 16,000 piece swipe file over time. He's been collecting swipes from direct mail and email and whatever. And he says, I've assembled every ad that Gene mentions in breakthrough advertising. I have the ad, like the space ad from like Girdles in 1950s magazines, and because Gene was making a point in all of those ads, and he mentions the ads in breakthrough advertising. He usually uses a headline or something. He went out and got every single ad. So I said to him, man, what can we do with this? This is awesome. It's like the ultimate swipe file. It's the breakthrough advertising swipe file. We had done a couple of boot camps already, and Chris, it was Chris' idea more than mine. He said, let's put it all. I said, let's use these swipes from Luis in some kind of a book or a special report or something. And then we said, why not take the worksheets from the boot camp, put them in a book, then put all the ads as part 2 of the book, and it became Breakthrough Advertising Mastery. And it becomes a companion volume. We sell it for $75, I think $59 digitally. We don't sell breakthrough advertising digitally, but we sell breakthrough advertising mastery, and
which is pretty dense.
It's 500 pages. God damn it!
This thing is thick, and
we ship it to Australia. People are freaked out how much the postage is.
Yeah, well, because it's 3 pounds or
I
four
know.
pounds or whatever, and all the ads are in the back,
All the ads,
which
every ad.
is incredible.
Yeah. But that
Incredible.
was like, just one thing feeding on another. Um, and it's interesting, Gene's wife Barbara, when I send her a royalty check every 6 months, she says, I'm not getting it. Why is Gene so much more popular now than when he was alive? But we did a good job, getting his name out. He was legendary in out in the ether, basically. The book was basically mostly out of print for a long time, and bringing it back, being a shepherd for Gene Schwartz's work is one of the, definitely one of the highlights of my career.
I love that. I love it. I think it's important. And honestly, to Barbara's point, like, why is Gene Shorts more important, or not more important, more popular now than he was then? I love that he's actually grown in popularity because candidly, it's one of the reasons I wanted to have this conversation. I think we need it now more than ever. I
Yeah,
think
you
people,
need to get some foundational stuff. You can use AI all you want. It's great. I
yeah.
love AI. I love ChatGPT. I love Claude. I love all of it. But on a bed of sand, it's not so good. On a bed of
Mm,
fundamental eternal truths, it's going to be better. Everything's better on a bed. Everything's better served on a bed of a bedrock fundamentals. Everything is better served on eternal with a with a base. You get in the health food places, you get a base, and then you get the protein, and with a base of eternal truth.
yeah. No, absolutely. And candidly, fundamentals almost to me, like when I think of breakthrough advertising, I think of like fundamentals on steroids. Like it is the most advanced way of looking at fundamentals. You mentioned it being dense. It is dense. I barely got through the first 3 chapters the first time I bought the
That's why
book.
Paris Lampropoulos, who talks about, he uses it with his copy cubs that he coaches. He says, and this is, you can, I think we've used this in some of the copy for the boot camp too. Basically, it's, he said, and I do this when you buy the book from me, there's a letter on attached to the book that says,
Yeah.
read the first 3 chapters 3 times before going on to the rest of the book. So you can absorb that, you'll get much more out of the rest of the book. That's how Paris teaches it to his copy cubs. He also says, when I say to Paris, isn't Breakthrough Advertising the most important book on copywriting and marketing? He says, it may be the most important, but it ain't the first one you should read.
Mm,
Paris is not, he's the first one that really talked about it as an advanced text in
yes.
marketing and copywriting. And so doesn't mean you shouldn't be in your library. It should be in every copywriter and marketer's library. But don't read it before you read scientific advertising. Don't read it before you read, Ogilvy on advertising. Don't read it even before you read the Collier sales letter book, although that's pretty dry and dense too.
Yeah, yeah. That's
But
1910, 1920 on that one.
yeah, I mean, I don't know if it is that old. It may be 1940, but it's old. It's old.
Um,
Um,
yeah.
that's why my first book with Craig Simpson, The Advertising Solution, that was why I was attracted to that book. Craig had done a lot of the legwork on that book, the heavy lifting early on, and he came to me, "You want to co-author this with me?" And I didn't know if I wanted to or not, and I did. Once I saw what the book was, it basically took the 6 legends of advertising who were basically they were madmen. You know the show Mad Men?
Oh, of course. Yeah. You even talk about Mad Men style marketing in Over Deliver, where you're like, that's just a different concept to direct response. Totally
Exactly,
opposite, right?
exactly.
Right.
But basically, these were all the madmen, but they were trapped because they were actually direct response marketers, but they were trapped in a general advertising body because direct marketing wasn't a thing. But man, what was scientific about advertising in 1923? Well, Claude
Mm,
Hopkins knew,
yeah.
David Ogilvy knew in the 60s, Gene
Hmm.
Schwartz knew in the 60s. It basically gave rise to all the direct response divisions of Ogilvy and Mather Direct and all the BBDO, all the big ad agencies on Madison Avenue, all the Mad Men ad agencies, developed a direct division. Ogilvy and
Hmm.
Mather Direct, BBDO Direct, Wonderman Direct. They were all that all took place in my early days in marketing. In the 80s, those were the hot agencies. They were doing direct response in a general advertising agency. So it wasn't general advertising anymore, it was direct response. And these six legends that Craig wrote about, and one of them was Gene. So it was like a no-brainer for me to be part of that book. But it was Gene Schwartz and Gary Halbert were two of them.
Yep.
And then the other four were like people you haven't heard of. Even copywriters today would hear of Gary Halbert and Gene Schwartz if they're anyone who's going to go anywhere. But they might not have, they should have heard of David Ogilvy. They might not have heard of John Caples, who, was basically the guy, the testing guy.
Yeah.
Robert Collier, sales letter book.
Yep.
Claude Hopkins, scientific advertising. So those six legends and so we basically were able to digest the greatest hits from those six legends. Couldn't do it for Gene because, breakthrough advertising was too dense. You could put this in I never used this copy in the boot camp, but you could do something with it maybe. Say that, Brian wrote the advertising solution covering the six legends of advertising. You can list them. And then say Gene was one of them. And Brian always thought that he couldn't do justice to Gene's work because breakthrough advertising was so dense and so transformational,
Yeah.
that it needed something more. And so when he republished breakthrough advertising, it needed something more, and that became the boot camp. That became breakthrough advertising mastery. So you can that gives a kind of you're basically anchoring to David Ogilvy, Claude Hopkins, Robert Collier, even Gary Halbert. Gary Halbert never wrote a real book. He had the Gary Halbert letter, which is legendary.
The boron letters?
Oh, the boron letters, yeah, those were letters, but yeah, that's an important book, right?
Oh, you just mean his newsletter, like his actual letter.
It basically, if you took his newsletters and just assembled them, it's one of the best books on copywriting ever written.
Actually, funny story about that. I paid a guy $200 on Upwork to chronologically assemble them in a Word document for me.
I think I mean, I don't know why Kevin and Bond never did that.
Well, somebody did it. It was online for a while because I asked. I think I tweeted it or something.
It's
I was
not
like,
in public domain. Kevin and Bond are very protective.
oh, whoops. I might have. I'll
they
cut
probably
this
didn't
part
notice.
out. Sorry,
Yeah.
guys. Well, they're free on the internet. So I was like, hey, could somebody just assemble these?
but they could have done more with that. I mean, yeah.
That's hilarious. But those are legends. Those are legends that so I know a lot of people know Halper. You're right. Caples is probably under the radar a little bit. There was somebody.
Collier's definitely under the radar. Hopkins isn't under the radar in traditional copywriting circles, like if you're an AWAI copywriter, because Clayton Makepeace did everybody a big solid by emphasizing these guys. He did so every time he had a chance, and he was a major speaker at AWAI for many years. And there's a lot of AWAI graduates. Some of them are not good copywriters, but at least they graduated AWAI. But they were, Clayton gets a lot of credit for that. Clayton, even more than Deutsch, more than Paris, more than a lot of the other guys in that generation, my generation, basically. I always give Clayton the most credit because he just wanted to teach. He wanted to be, he was a professor of copywriting. But
I candidly think Clayton Makepeace is one of the most underrated. I think he's underrated in the circles that I'm in today because most people don't know about quick start copywriting.
No, and he only died in 2020, but I'm gonna. It's funny when I read, but I tell you, this is the good news about him not being known or known. One of my blog, I read a blog when he died. I did a tribute blog to him. I repeated it a couple of times since 2020. Hadn't
Mm.
repeated it in a while. And Chris has we have two Filipino VAs who takes pieces of my blog posts and they post them on LinkedIn, X, Facebook.
Yeah.
And the one that got the most response, the most engagement of any we put up. Not to say that they get so many, but it got a lot for LinkedIn anyway. Was my Clayton Makepeace piece.
Really?
Yeah, people who know who he is have the same reaction you do. How can this guy not be like talked about with in the same breath almost, not quite, but as Halbert and Schwartz and Ben Savenga and Rutz? He's like almost right there.
Well, as far as like copywriting education goes, I
Yes,
think
absolutely.
in that sense, quick start, when somebody asks me, because I have a lot of people who are like, okay, what's the first thing, blah, blah, blah. And outside of like Joe Sugarman's Adweek copywriting handbook, right? Claude Hopkins, scientific advertising.
You
Outside
had
of
two
those,
in one of your YouTube videos. You had two other books besides Sugarman, which I'm not as familiar with. But
I
if they're
had the I had the Bob Bly one, which I think is helpful if
which one?
you
Copywriter's Handbook?
copywriter's handbook. I have
Okay.
that as more like a pull it off. If you need to pull something off your shelf because he's so diverse, it's such a diverse book where he's like, it talks about meta ads and landing pages.
No, and Bob Bly is one of the great teachers as well. He actually,
Yes.
he proves the point that you don't have to do it to teach it. He's a good copywriter. He was never like a major A-lister in the era of Bill Jamie and Jim Rutz and Ben Savenga. Bob Bly was a big step. I tested him a few times at Boardroom. He just didn't have that extra oomph, but an amazing teacher of the craft.
Oh, yes. Yes.
I mean, Tommy Lasorda, I
really,
don't know if you know
really good.
baseball. Tommy Lasorda was one of the worst baseball players of all time, and he's a Hall of Fame manager. So you can do it. You can do it.
Yeah. I mean, again, kudos to these guys. Even so, like, again, the Clayton Makepeace to me is one of the best teachers, because when I read Quick Start Copywriting, I was like, where has this been?
Yeah.
This is A to Z, everything I was looking for.
Yeah.
Like,
he was special.
yeah, it was absolutely incredible. But again, back to Gene, like I read one page into Breakthrough Advertising. He writes this line that's like, you cannot create desire, you have to channel mass desire.
Right.
And then I closed
Copywriter
the
does
book.
not create desire.
Yes. I closed the book and I'm like, how do I do that?
Yeah.
It's just like,
The desire is already in the
Dang it.
marketplace. It's the copywriter's job to, find it, get it together. It's not, you don't have to invent it.
no. And then he goes further and he talks about like copy is assembled. And it goes back to,
Right.
like what's not in the book and all this
That's
stuff.
exactly right. That's what he meant by copy is assembled, right?
Yeah. And I was like, dang it. Here I am trying to sit here and come up with these best headlines or whatever. And these guys are like, no, dude, like look around for a minute, browse around, dive into it, which is why the boot camp is so applicable, because you'll get a line like that. And for me, I sat on it I was like, I don't know what to do with that. I don't even know what to do with that. I don't even understand how to figure that out.
Yeah. But also that's what the boot camp, taking it right to the boot camp, the reason why it's so powerful is the worksheets that we put together, the exercises that we do are applicable to all businesses, all categories. And so that's the extra oomph that you need. So you read something in Breakthrough Advertising, how do I apply that to my business? And so I know you're going to write good copy for your boot camp. You can borrow whatever you want from what we have. We have a lot. Hope Chris sent you all the
He did. He sent me lots of stuff.
Okay, so but you can adapt, use, not use, but I would definitely encourage you to make the link between, obviously theory and practice. And the practice is, there's homework inside the boot camp. If you don't want to, you don't have to do it. We're not going to take attendance, but if you don't do it, you're not going to get as much out of the boot camp and with the hot seat availability inside the boot camp, we can hot seat you on your specific business, how to use the concepts from breakthrough advertising. How good is that?
Yeah, that's absolutely
It's
incredible.
2 weeks, 6 calls,
Yeah, do we have a date for the boot camp? I know Chris was
We have the 2 weeks. We have the 2 weeks. It's going to be
when is the 2 weeks?
Yeah. We'll get a schedule soon. It's going to be the weeks of October 20th and 27th. Usually the first week it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. And then the second week is usually maybe Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, something like that.
Yeah. What I think is insane, again, the price, 6 calls. We're talking through the most legendary book as far as like staple and fundamentals, advanced fundamentals. You're going to be on the call. Are you on these calls, Brian?
Yes.
You're on these calls. This is, and it's $297. This is going to be easy to write.
Yeah. So I'm gonna need to go in a few minutes. So tell me what didn't we talk about that you really wanted for your copy based on the questions you sent?
Honestly, I think we hit practically everything. I wanted to make sure we got.
I mean, number 7, why should copywriters join us for a breakthrough bootcamp? And it's not just copywriters. It's marketers. It's anybody in business who wants to sell more, market more. You got to be at least. You don't have to do the writing yourself either. There'll be people on the call that you might be able to hire to do the writing for you, but that's not the toughest thing. The toughest thing is you as the entrepreneur, you as the business owner, getting your arms around your market, how to approach your market, how to not create desire, how to bring the desire together, and assemble your copy. And you don't have to assemble it yourself. By using the worksheets inside the boot camp, it's going to get assembled for you. You might have, like, if you don't want to write it, you can actually use ChatGPT to give you your first draft off the worksheets that you assemble from the boot camp. That would be a great first step in writing your first promotion letter.
Yeah, huge first step, especially because a lot of the worksheets in the boot camp, I know Chris has them in like Google Sheets and Excel format, so you could just download, upload.
They're all downloadable. It's a good. I mean, we've done 8 of them. This is going to be our 9th. So, and each one is better than the next. Because that's another factor. Each one is the best one is the one coming up and the one you'll experience because it's a cumulative effect of what worked in each one and adding on and adding on and adding on. So, and that's true. I mean, Chris uses different ads in each boot camp. He's changed around some of the worksheets based on, and he's gotten into AI a bit. It's not just, and that's another thing. It's like, don't think just because the book was written in 1966 that, obviously everything is 100% relevant today. And will show you by adapting AI to breakthrough advertising.
Yeah.
Not to copy shit. It's not to copy shit. Mm-hmm. It's to adapt and get your thinking and move the ball down the field, but you're still gonna have to do the work.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the strategy, the approach, the thinking behind it, right? The legwork, the finger work. That changes over time, but what he set in stone for how you approached it is completely timeless.
Right. And we made it practical too. So it's timeless and practical.
I love it. Brian,
anything else that you
No, we talked about everything. I mean, we bounced around on some of the questions. I love it.
And I'm a tangent waiting to happen, so I went off of some tangents. I apologize.
No, I took it honestly. That I was hoping for it. Obviously, not my first time listening T, I've gotten to listen to you from afar on Titans, and you've done interviews with Ben and all this stuff. So I was like, oh, this will be fun. I don't even think we'll make it through the questions, which is totally fine. We'll have a great time with it. But honestly, last plug, obviously this is on my YouTube. You guys are watching this on my YouTube, which is going to go up. My email list is going to hear about it. So you guys will get a ton of emails from me about this. I'm going to be a part of it. I'm going to be hanging out there. Brian's going to be there. Chris Mason's going to be there. This is incredibly important. I think this is one of the most prolific times that we can actually do this. One of the most prolific offers, at least 2025. I'm grateful that you're still doing it. So I want to take advantage, and I'm going to make sure to write a ton of copy. Anything you want to say to our guys before we check out?
One I'll say is this: we don't go out and find people to promote the boot camp. You came to us.
I did.
So basically, it's like you don't choose your mentors choose you. You don't choose who sells for you. Your sellers choose you. So you chose us, which made it more than obvious that we want you to do this for us. We're not looking for tons of affiliates. We're not in the affiliate game. People say I leave money on the table all the time. I'm fine with that. I'm not living for money. I'm living for impact and teaching and all of that. But, a young copywriter knocks on our door. We have to make sure he's legit. You seem legit. You're obviously earnest. You're obviously on the way up, big time. And so no downside for us, all upside for you, because there won't be many
100%.
people promoting. I think Bob Bly happens to be promoting this one, actually, but that's
I'm gonna
it.
try and beat Bob.
Yeah, that's it. The other thing I would say, I was just thinking of all my tangents and stuff. One of the things that you might be able to work in without making it a negative is, it's hard to do this, but you could say, I had a call with Brian, just to talk about the boot camp, get his input on it, so I'd really understand it before I experience it myself, which you're going to experience it yourself.
Yeah.
You got comped for the whole boot camp, obviously, but then basically you say something like, Brian always says he's a tangent waiting to happen. Man, did I experience that? And and you know what? Getting him back on track to just talk about Gene and breakthrough advertising was tough at times. However, the education he gave me and how he brought it back to breakthrough advertising, he wasn't on a tangent off to the moon in a rabbit hole. He went, if there's a rabbit hole on the moon, but he went off on a tangent, brought it back, because everything revolves around, original source, around fundamentals, around eternal truths. So we talked about Clayton Makepeace. We talked about Paris Lampropoulos. We talked about, bullets and fascinations and, things that Gene experienced that Paris does now. Or you could work all of that in and say, I guess Brian will be like that on the calls. So I hope you're ready for some tangents that are tangents without warning that could yield incredible epiphanies, or you may just get crazy with his tangents. But either way, you can make it a little, somewhat deprecating to me if you want to. I have no problem with that. But turn it into a positive that they're getting 44 years of my experience of whatever I can share as it relates to Gene and breakthrough advertising and all tangents in 6 calls.
Yeah, I'll definitely.
There might be something there for you. I don't know. There might be something there for you.
It's the Ben Settleism of making the skeleton dance with your bullets. He always says, "Don't hide the skeleton in the closet. Wave it out in front of them and use it to sell." I'll figure out a way to shake that one out, and it'll be fun. But I'm excited. Again, I think this is incredibly important to get in front of people today. So I am excited to be on the calls, to hang out, to share this with the people, and to get to spend more time listening to the tangents, because we weaved back no problem.
Oh, that goes without saying when you're on a call with me. So
Yeah, well, perfect. Well, I do want to honor your time. I know you have to go. I appreciate even just giving me the time. It truly means a lot to
Problem.
me. It really does. So thank you, Brian. I'll email you and work out like a, hey, when this can go live, when I'll send the emails type thing, just so we're aligned on that, because I
Yeah,
want to
make
promote
sure.
at the
I
right
mean,
time.
Chris is going to handle that piece mostly, but I can be on the emails. But yeah,
I'll
I
send it to Chris.
yeah, I don't know what your Colby is, but mine is 5393, and the 3 is follow through.
Yeah.
My 9 is quick start. So yeah, you don't want to rely on me for the nitty gritty details. I mean, I know the details and I can get them to you, but rely on Chris for that. Now, but keep me in the loop. You can see me on anything, and I
Will
can
do.
chime in.
Yeah.
I'll chime in if I think I got something additional.
Perfect. Yeah. I'll align with Chris. I just want to make sure on promotion timelines and things like that.
That'll be all
Um,
Chris. Well, he and I are
Perfect.
going to discuss it, and then it's all him. Carla needs to be in the loop a little bit because
Perfect.
she's also handles my schedule. So, but that's more Chris and Carla. So that's not you. That's okay.
No worries. I'll take care of it. We'll get this done, and then I'll send over all the collateral as I
All right. I
write the
hope you
copy
get
and
us
some emails and stuff.
a lot of attendees. How big is your list?
It's almost 4,000 now. It's almost
Nice,
4,000.
nice.
Which again, it is. I've definitely followed the more Ben Settle small and mighty
Yeah,
list. I've
that's what
been
mine
able.
is too. Mine don't buy though,
Yeah.
generally.
Oh, really?
They'll buy the boot camp and stuff, but I've trained them to almost not buy because my blog, it's all PSs in my blog. I'm not comfortable with, and I do what I want to do. It's my blog. I can do what I want with it. But I mean, we've done a little bit. We once did a launch for Titans Accelerator, a series of emails. I rarely do that. I'll do it once in a while, but it's sort of like Joe Polish says, I'm the director of sales prevention, and you know, sometimes, but I'm good with that. I wear it like a badge of honor because I'm value and content first, and I don't recommend that to everybody. I mean, Ben's style is so effective and so powerful. Your style is your style. It's obviously effective.
Yeah.
You got to be your own person. But so my list is, you know, they're just don't trying to you think I should be able to sell Titans Accelerator memberships straight up on my email list, and I don't.
Hmm. Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah. That's okay. I mean, again, everybody. It took me a while to figure out how to like. Okay, am I doing this right? Am I doing this wrong?
there's no right or
Um,
wrong.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, metric wise, I'm always like, can I do
Yeah,
bigger than
yeah,
my
yeah,
last
yeah. That's
launch?
true. That's true.
But in that launches, typically we have a lot of fun with launches because, right? I mean, you learn along the way, add some
Yeah, I learned a
bonuses,
lot the
get it
lunches
fun.
I did. Absolutely.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, you have significantly more knowledge in it than I do. That's for sure.
Knowledge,
Um,
not a ton of firsthand experience, but I mean, I've done multiple launches. But everything I did in my career was a launch of sorts. It's like
mm.
doing a million piece direct mail campaign. It's a launch. Believe
See,
me.
you're way overqualified for the Jeff Walker mastermind. I don't know
Eh,
what.
I can make a case. Whether the case would be agreed to, I don't know.
Yeah. I'll take it. I'm going to have a ton of fun with this one.
All right,
We'll
good. Have
promote
fun.
it. Awesome. Awesome. Brian, if there's anything I could do for you, just reach out.
All right, great, Alan.
Thanks, Brian. I appreciate it.
See ya.
Later.